Once again, 1/250th of a second, f8, and this is the Minolta Maxxum AF 70-210 f4 lens, also known as the beer can. And supposedly it got that name because it's similarly sized to a can of beer. But right next to it is a tall boy. And as you can see, it's still a bit bigger than that. I bought it back in February 2024 from someone on eBay for a total of about, exactly $37.35 after our taxes and shipping. This lens is in good shape, at least. No scratches that affect image quality, no fungus inside it. Everything looks clear and sharp. And the autofocus works just fine. So my day job regularly takes me past Wildcat Lake, but I've never took the time to visit the park until I did so on my own. I'm not quite sure how it got its name, but it makes me think of wildcat drilling, or wildcatting for short. Talking risky business ventures in unproven fields and fields that others have abandoned prior. A lot of my video productions are like that. With the longer focal lengths, I can get a shot with both foreground and background appreciably out of focus, and only the midground in focus. The tele lens also causes a kind of perspective compression. Faces get flatter, backgrounds bigger. It's not from the focal length that does it, but rather the distance from the subject to the lens and camera. For landscapes, the general consensus is to use wide angles and get everything in frame. Tele lenses may also be used for landscapes, but they're typically used for wildlife rather than geography. Alright, let's try 210. 1/1000th to f8. Now the 70-210 isn't just great for stuff out in the distance, but it is kind of like the primary use for this thing. This one's also good for portraits, and believe it or not, close-ups with that extremely shallow depth of field in the background. We'll just zoom out. Slightly overexposed to 1/1000th f4. Not a whole lot to see out here in the month of May out on my own. I mean, there are lakefront houses, trees, the plant life at the edge of the lake, the flowering plants, and then the grass, and so on. There'd be more to photograph though on a fishing trip with friends, but I really don't have any, at least outside of work. Yeah. 1/1000th. f5.6. Yeah, 70 to 210. And on film, no less. I think this whole setup would run me about maybe $50 or less, not including the film. And with something like this, I wouldn't be too heartbroken if I lost it or got it damaged during a shoot. 1000 f4. That was at 210. I feel like I'm running out of things to photograph that I haven't already photographed before. I suppose for now I could do with the peace and quiet. Flip it in a minute. So yeah, when I'm photographing with film, usually end up being a bit more conservative, not what I take pictures of. After all, 36 shots on a roll, not a lot. And you can easily blow through thousands on a digital camera during a typical photo shoot. $70. On my last shot of the roll. I could probably get an interesting shot somehow in the distance, but yeah. Alright, so I didn't start with an empty roll of film. But I didn't take a full 36 shots. I actually started at probably shot number 10 or 9 or... It was actually at shot 11 when I got here. What to do next time? Alright, some of these shots required me to get down in the dirt. That's what separates real photographers from the casual muggles. Or worse yet, those use generative AI like DALL-E or Stable Diffusion and pass it off as art. I'd say that art is an expression of human emotion and of humanity itself. It is of blood, sweat, and tears, and I can't pay my taxes with it. It is of many hours spent with no guarantee that I'll ever get anything back in return. Why do it, though? It's a simple matter of a part of me will shrivel up and die inside if I don't. Otherwise. Okay, as for the lens itself, it, along with this 35-70 f4, are quintessential choices for anyone who's a fan of the Minolta A-mount system. I shot a roll of Lomo 400 with this 35-70 back in late June of 2023. When I visited Fort Ward Park of Bainbridge Highland. And as for the 70-210, I actually quite like it, that lens. Especially the constant f4. It's quite a bit lighter and way less expensive than a modern 70-200 f2.8. I mean, this is decently sharp at all apertures, at least based on the scans I got with my Epson Perfection V700. And honestly, it's not the best scanner in the world for this. It may claim it's got up to 6400 dpi worth of resolution, but the thing is, you're going to get the maximum sharpness you're going to get out of it is probably less than 3200 dpi, and there's no benefit to scanning anything above 3200 dpi on that thing. It's honestly a shame that Sony effectively pulled the plug on this ecosystem. I think back in 2021 or so, when they discontinued the Alpha 99 II. However, these lenses are still available for cheap, and Sony still makes the necessary adapters to use them on more modern mirrorless cameras. But to me, it's not really worth it. It's best to use these lenses on their older film cameras, or perhaps the DSLRs and DSLTs that they used to make.